A single temple bell echoes across the valley, its pure tone cutting through the morning mist like ancient wisdom, piercing through modern chaos. What if stillness, not striving, is the most powerful action you can take today? What if everything you've been taught about success, progress, and getting ahead has been leading you further away from what you're actually seeking? Here's the paradox that will change everything. Stop forcing. Let calm do the heavy lifting. We rush through our days like leaves caught in a whirlwind, while Buddhist monks watch the same sunrise without hurrying, accessing a power we've completely forgotten exists. They've discovered something that our achievement-obsessed culture refuses to acknowledge: that frantic effort creates more problems than it solves, that desperation repels the very things we're chasing, and that the answers we're frantically searching for can only be heard in stillness. Today, you're going to learn 6 profound Buddhist-based principles that will teach you to let calm carry your results, instead of exhausting yourself swimming upstream against life's natural flow. This isn't about becoming passive or giving up on your dreams. It's about discovering a way of moving through the world that's both more peaceful and infinitely more effective. You'll walk away with practical techniques rooted in ancient Buddhist wisdom, including a micro-practice that you'll literally feel shifting something in your body before this journey ends. The path you've been searching for isn't hidden somewhere out there. It's revealed the moment you become still enough to see it. Stay with us, because what unfolds next will transform how you approach every challenge, every goal, and every quiet moment for the rest of your life. Energy over panic. Picture this. You're standing in an ancient monastery at dawn, watching a monk tend to a small oil lamp on the altar. The flame burns steady and bright, unwavering despite the morning breeze that flows through the wooden halls. This isn't just any ordinary moment. It's a profound Buddhist teaching unfolding before your very eyes. You see, that lamp represents something we've all forgotten in our frantic modern lives: the power of sustained, calm energy over desperate scrambling. While we're out there flailing like torches in a windstorm, the wise know that attention quality shapes outcomes far more than frantic effort ever could. Now here's where Buddhist wisdom gets really interesting, and where most of us get it completely wrong. We've been conditioned to believe that more effort equals better results, that if we just push harder, scramble faster, and panic louder, somehow the universe will reward our desperation. But the Four Noble Truths teach us something radically different. Suffering often comes from this very attachment to forceful striving. The monk adjusting that lamp doesn't rush, doesn't overthink, doesn't second-guess every small movement. Instead, he embodies what centuries of Buddhist philosophy have proven. The universe follows steadiness, not scramble. This isn't passive resignation. It's active, intentional calmness that creates space for genuine Buddhist mindfulness to emerge. You know what's fascinating about this approach? When you shift from panic-driven action to energy-centered presence, everything changes. Not just your stress levels, but your actual results in the world. Daily Buddhist practice teaches us that this steady flame within you is always available, waiting to be tended with the same gentle attention that monk gives to his lamp. Vipassana meditation masters have discovered that when we stop feeding our inner chaos and start cultivating this quiet strength, we naturally align with the flow of life itself. The Dharma talks speak of this as cultivating right effort, one aspect of the noble Eightfold path that transforms how we approach every challenge. But steady energy is just the beginning of what happens when we truly understand how to let calm do the heavy lifting. Open palm, open path. There's an ancient Buddhist story about a student who approached her teacher with clenched fists, desperately trying to hold on to everything she thought she needed. The wise teacher simply smiled and offered her a string of beautiful mala beads, but her hands were too tightly closed to receive them. This moment captures one of the most profound Buddhist teachings we'll explore today. A clenched fist can't receive prayer beads, and a controlling mind can't receive life's gifts. You see, we spend so much energy trying to micromanage every detail of our lives, squeezing outcomes until our knuckles turn white, never realizing that this very grip is what blocks the flow we're desperately seeking. The universe has a rhythm, and when we try to force it into our tiny timelines and expectations, we create the very resistance that keeps us stuck. Here's where Buddhist wisdom becomes beautifully practical and completely counterintuitive to everything our culture teaches us about success. The Noble Eightfold Path includes right action, but that doesn't mean controlling action. It means aligned action that flows from an open, receptive state. When those mala beads slip freely through your fingers during Buddhist meditation, you're not losing control. You're discovering something far more powerful, the art of conscious allowing. Zen meditation masters have practiced this for centuries, understanding that releasing micro-control doesn't mean becoming passive. It means becoming available to possibilities we never could have imagined from our narrow, grasping perspective. Loosen the grip, widen the way isn't just a beautiful mantra. It's a practical instruction for living. What happens when you actually start practicing this open palm approach? Your daily Buddhist practice transforms from a struggle into a dance, from forcing outcomes to inviting them. Buddhist monks' teachings consistently point to this paradox. The more we try to control, the more chaotic our lives become. The more we open and allow, the more naturally things align. Vipassana meditation practitioners often describe this shift as moving from swimming upstream to floating downstream, not giving up, but working with the current instead of against it. Buddhist philosophy calls this understanding right view, seeing clearly how our attachment to control creates unnecessary suffering. And speaking of seeing clearly, there's something even more profound that happens when we learn to be still enough to truly see. Silence shows the bottom. Imagine sitting beside a mountain pond at dawn, watching as the surface gradually stills from the night's gentle ripples. As the water becomes perfectly calm, something magical happens. You can suddenly see all the way to the bottom, every stone, every detail crystal clear beneath the surface. This is exactly what happens in your mind when you embrace the profound Buddhist teaching of inner stillness. We live in such a noisy world, constantly churning with thoughts, worries, and endless mental chatter, that we never give ourselves the chance to see what's actually there beneath all that turbulence. Buddhist wisdom has known for thousands of years what modern science is just discovering. A quiet mind reveals clear options, while a chaotic mind obscures even the most obvious solutions right in front of us. Now, here's where this gets really powerful in your daily Buddhist practice, and where most people completely miss the point. Silence isn't about emptying your mind or stopping all thoughts. It's about creating enough space between thoughts to actually hear the wisdom that's already there. When you watch incense smoke rising in a perfectly straight line during Zen meditation, you're witnessing the same principle. When there's no interference, natural intelligence flows unobstructed. The Four Noble Truths teach us that much of our suffering comes from this very mental noise, the constant commentary, judgment, and analysis that prevents us from seeing situations clearly. Buddhist mindfulness practices help us develop what the masters call beginner's mind, that fresh, open awareness that can perceive solutions our cluttered thinking would never discover. What's truly remarkable about cultivating this inner stillness is how quickly it transforms your relationship with problems and decisions. Vipassana meditation practitioners often describe moments when the answer they'd been frantically seeking suddenly becomes obvious. Not because they thought harder, but because they became quiet enough to hear what was already there. Buddhist philosophy speaks of this as developing right mindfulness along the Noble Eightfold Path, learning to be present enough to receive guidance rather than forcing solutions through mental effort. Dharma talks remind us that be quiet enough to hear the answer isn't passive waiting, it's active listening, creating space for wisdom to emerge naturally. And just as that still pond reveals perfect timing for everything beneath its surface, there's a deeper rhythm we discover when we learn to trust life's natural unfolding. Right timing, right ripening. Have you ever rushed to drink tea that wasn't quite ready, only to taste the bitter disappointment of leaves that needed just a few more moments to steep? Or waited too long and found yourself with a flat, lifeless brew that had lost all its essence? This simple kitchen wisdom holds one of the most profound Buddhist teachings about timing, and it's something we desperately need to understand in our instant gratification world. Buddhist philosophy has always recognized that everything in life has its own natural rhythm of ripening, from the smallest daily decisions to the biggest life transitions. When we try to force outcomes before their time, we get the bitter taste of premature action. When we wait too long past the moment of readiness, we miss the peak of possibility entirely. Here's where Buddhist wisdom becomes a game changer for how you approach every goal and dream in your life. The Noble Eightfold Path includes right effort, But that doesn't mean constant pushing. It means aligning your actions with life's natural timing. Listen to any experienced Buddhist monk's teachings, and you'll hear this theme repeatedly. Trust the ripening process, act without hurry, and recognize when the moment is ripe for action. Daily Buddhist practice helps us develop this sensitivity to timing through Buddhist mindfulness, that quality of present moment awareness that can sense when to step forward and when to wait. It's like learning to hear the kettle's whistle. First the building steam, then the perfect moment when the water is ready, followed by the calm, confident pour that creates exactly what you need. What transforms in your life when you start honoring this principle of right timing? Your stress levels plummet because you're no longer fighting against the natural flow of events. Zen meditation teaches us that forcing is the source of most of our exhaustion. We wear ourselves out trying to make things happen on our schedule rather than in harmony with their natural unfolding. Vipassana meditation practitioners often discover that their biggest breakthroughs come not from intense effort, but from patient awareness, watching for those subtle cues that signal readiness. Buddhist spirituality calls this developing wisdom, the ability to discern not just what to do, but when to do it. Trust the timing, honor the pace becomes more than just a mantra. It becomes a way of living that naturally leads us to recognize our own inherent value and readiness for whatever comes next. Worthiness leads the way. Picture a monk approaching a sacred gate at first light, walking with quiet confidence, knowing without question that he belongs there. There's no hesitation, no second guessing, no mental rehearsal of reasons why he might not deserve to enter. Just a natural, flowing movement through the threshold that opens effortlessly before him. This scene captures one of the most transformative Buddhist teachings. A gate opens to one who knows they belong. Your beliefs about your own worthiness aren't just thoughts floating around in your head. They're the invisible force that calibrates every choice you make, every opportunity you notice, and every chance you take or let slip away. Buddhist wisdom has always understood that how we see ourselves determines not just how we feel, but literally what becomes possible in our lives. Now here's where this gets really profound, and where most self-help approaches miss the deeper truth that Buddhist philosophy reveals. Worthiness isn't something you earn through achievements or prove through perfect behavior. It's your natural state, temporarily obscured by the illusions that Buddhist mindfulness helps us recognize and release. The Four Noble Truths teach us that suffering comes from attachment to false stories about ourselves, including the story that we're somehow not enough, exactly as we are. When you practice daily Buddhist practice with this understanding, something shifts at the cellular level. You stop asking permission from the universe and start walking through life like that monk approaching the gate. Zen meditation reveals that worthiness isn't a feeling you have to generate. It's a recognition of what was always true. What happens when you truly embody this teaching in your everyday life? Opportunities that were always there suddenly become visible. Conversations flow differently, and you find yourself naturally gravitating toward experiences that honor who you really are. Vipassana meditation practitioners often describe this shift as moving from pushing doors that won't budge to discovering doors that swing open at the lightest touch. Buddhist monks' teachings consistently point to this truth. When you stand as worthy, steps appear, not because you've manipulated the universe, but because you've aligned with your authentic nature. The Noble Eightfold path includes right view, and perhaps the most important right view is seeing yourself clearly as inherently whole and deserving. And when you combine this inner, calm is a verb. Watch a single leaf floating down the river below an ancient monastery, and you'll witness one of the most powerful Buddhist teachings in action. That leaf isn't frantically paddling or fighting the current. It's allowing the river's natural flow to carry it farther and more efficiently than any amount of struggle could achieve. This is what we mean when we say calm is a verb. It's not passive relaxation or mental emptiness, but active, intelligent alignment with the forces that are already moving in your favor. Buddhist wisdom has always recognized that calm focus creates aligned action, while frantic energy creates scattered results. When you truly understand this principle, you stop swimming upstream against life and start moving with a power that's both effortless and incredibly effective. Here's where this teaching revolutionizes everything you thought you knew about getting things done in life. Most of us have been programmed to believe that intensity equals results, that if we're not stressed and striving, we must be lazy or unmotivated. But Buddhist philosophy reveals a completely different truth. Calm attracts what you need because it creates the inner space for wisdom to emerge and right action to flow naturally. The Noble Eightfold Path includes right concentration, which isn't just about meditation cushions. It's about bringing focused, peaceful awareness to everything you do. Daily Buddhist practice teaches us that when your mind is like that calm river current, your actions become effortlessly powerful, carrying you toward your goals with a grace that force could never achieve. What transforms when you start practicing calm as an active force in your life? Your energy stops leaking out through worry and resistance and instead gets channeled into precisely the right actions at exactly the right moments. Zen meditation masters have perfected this art of calm action, moving through their days with a presence that accomplishes more through being than most people achieve through doing. Vipassana meditation reveals how this works. When your mind is still and clear, you naturally see the most efficient path forward, while agitated thinking clouds your judgment and leads to wasted effort. Buddhist mindfulness becomes your compass, helping you navigate from this place of centered awareness rather than reactive scrambling. And speaking of navigation, there's a beautiful story about a senior monk who discovered this truth in the most unexpected way. Monk's Vignette, micro-story. There's a story that changed everything for Master Chen, a senior monk who'd spent decades in rigorous Buddhist practice, yet still found himself struggling with one persistent challenge. For years, he'd been trying to cultivate a garden behind the monastery, pouring sweat and determination into soil that seemed to resist his every effort. He'd dig deeper, water more, add countless amendments, all while watching his plants wither despite his intense care. One morning, exhausted from another failed season, he sat in defeat beside his struggling garden and simply watched. A gentle breeze moved through the space, and he noticed something he'd never seen before. Wild flowers blooming abundantly just beyond his cultivated plot, thriving in soil he'd deemed unsuitable. In that moment, the profound Buddhist teaching hit him like lightning. He'd been forcing growth instead of creating conditions for it. The transformation in Master Chen's approach became legendary among the other monks, demonstrating a principle that Buddhist wisdom has taught for centuries, but that we so rarely apply to our own lives. Instead of battling the earth, he began listening to it, observing what wanted to grow naturally and gently supporting that process rather than imposing his own agenda. His garden didn't just survive, it flourished beyond anything he'd achieved through force, becoming a living demonstration of how Buddhist mindfulness can transform our relationship with resistance itself. The Four Noble Truths became real for him in a new way. Suffering had come from his attachment to controlling outcomes rather than nurturing possibilities. When he shared this revelation during Dharma talks, other practitioners recognized the same pattern in their own struggles with relationships, careers, and personal growth. What made this story spread throughout Buddhist monasteries across the region wasn't just its practical wisdom, but how it perfectly illustrated the difference between pushing and allowing that's central to authentic Buddhist spirituality. Master Chen would often tell visitors that his greatest teacher hadn't been years of intensive Zen meditation or studying Buddhist philosophy. It had been those wildflowers showing him that life knows how to flourish when we stop interfering with its natural intelligence. His daily Buddhist practice transformed from effortful striving to attentive support, from forcing outcomes to creating space for them to emerge. The Noble Eightfold Path took on new meaning as he realized that right effort isn't about intensity, it's about alignment. And this shift in perspective reveals something crucial about one of the most common obstacles we all face when trying to live more peacefully. Obstacle reframe. Let's be honest about the voice that's probably whispering in your head right now. If I don't push, nothing moves. This belief runs so deep in our culture that it feels like absolute truth, doesn't it? We've been conditioned to think that without constant pressure, constant doing, constant force, our dreams will just sit there gathering dust while life passes us by. It's the fear that drives millions of people into burnout, the anxiety that keeps us checking our phones at 2 a.m., the underlying terror that if we're not in control, everything will fall apart. But here's what centuries of Buddhist teachings reveal. This belief isn't just wrong. It's the very thing creating the resistance you're trying to overcome. When you push against life, life pushes back, creating the exact struggle you're trying to avoid. The reframe that Buddhist wisdom offers is both simple and revolutionary. Move, but without friction. Think about this for a moment. When you're walking naturally, you're not fighting against the ground with each step. You're working with gravity, momentum, and your body's natural rhythm to move forward effortlessly. Buddhist philosophy calls this right action within the Noble Eightfold Path, movement that flows from understanding rather than force, from presence rather than panic. Daily Buddhist practice teaches us to recognize the difference between inspired action and driven action. One feels expansive and energizing, while the other feels tight and depleting. Zen meditation helps us develop the sensitivity to notice when we're creating friction through our approach, signaling that it's time to soften our strategy rather than intensify our effort. What happens when you start experimenting with this frictionless movement in your own life? You discover that Buddhist mindfulness isn't about becoming passive. It's about becoming incredibly efficient, like water finding its way around obstacles, rather than trying to bulldoze through them. Vipassana meditation practitioners often describe this as learning to surf instead of swimming upstream, using the natural currents of life to carry you forward rather than exhausting yourself fighting against them. Buddhist monks' teachings consistently point to this truth. The universe is already moving in countless directions. Your job isn't to force it onto your path, but to align your path with its flow. And when you combine this understanding with all the principles we've explored, something beautiful begins to emerge. A way of living that integrates everything into a practical, daily approach. Integration bridge. Now comes the beautiful part, weaving all these Buddhist teachings into a single, flowing approach that transforms your entire day from the moment you wake up. Imagine starting each morning not with the jarring alarm of anxiety about everything you need to accomplish, but with a few moments of stillness that connects you to that steady flame we talked about earlier. This morning practice isn't just peaceful meditation time. It's strategically setting the energetic tone that will carry you through every challenge and opportunity ahead. Buddhist wisdom has always emphasized that how you begin determines how everything unfolds. And when you start with that calm, centered presence, you're already accessing the power of energy over panic that changes everything else. From that foundation of morning stillness, you naturally move into what Buddhist mindfulness calls open palm choices, approaching your daily decisions from curiosity rather than control, allowing solutions to emerge rather than forcing them into existence. Each transition becomes an opportunity to practice the principles we've explored, pausing to check in with timing before making important calls, sensing your own worthiness before entering challenging conversations, choosing calm action over reactive scrambling. The Noble Eightfold Path isn't meant to be practiced only on meditation cushions. It's designed to transform ordinary moments into opportunities for awakening. Daily Buddhist practice becomes less about separate spiritual activities and more about bringing conscious awareness to the natural rhythm of your day. What makes this integration so powerful is how each element supports and amplifies the others, creating a momentum of peace that builds throughout your day rather than depleting your energy. When you combine the morning stillness with open palm decision-making, add in natural timing awareness, and move from your inherent worthiness with calm action, you're not just practicing Buddhist philosophy, you're living it. Zen meditation masters call this meditation in action, where every moment becomes a chance to embody the wisdom rather than just think about it. Vipassana meditation teaches us that this integration isn't another thing to perfect. It's simply remembering who you are beneath all the conditioning and allowing that truth to guide your choices. And speaking of remembering, there's a simple practice that can anchor all of this wisdom in your body right now. Micro practice. Let's bring everything we've explored into your body right now with a simple practice that you can use anytime, anywhere, to reconnect with the calm power we've been discussing. Find a comfortable position and allow your eyes to fall half closed, not fully shut, but soft and unfocused, like you're gazing gently into the distance. This eye position is actually an ancient Buddhist technique that keeps you present and aware while allowing your nervous system to naturally settle. Now bring your thumb and forefinger together in that open palm gesture we talked about earlier, feeling the gentle contact between these two fingers as a physical reminder that you can hold space for whatever's coming without needing to grip or control it. Here's where the magic happens. Breathe in slowly for a count of 4, feeling your breath naturally expand your belly and chest without forcing anything. Hold that breath gently for 2 counts, not straining, just allowing. Then exhale slowly for 6 counts, letting everything release completely. This isn't just breathing. This is Buddhist mindfulness in action, using your breath as an anchor to the present moment while your counting mind stays engaged in a way that actually promotes peace, rather than anxiety. As you exhale, whisper the words, "Trust the timing," so softly that only you can hear it, letting these words vibrate through your body like a gentle bell that reminds every cell of your natural rhythm. Repeat this sequence 3 times total, and notice what happens in your body with each round. Most people feel their shoulders dropping, their jaw softening, their heart rate naturally slowing as they remember what it feels like to not be rushing toward the next thing. This is what daily Buddhist practice can feel like. Not another task to complete perfectly, but a returning home to the calm presence that's always available within you. Buddhist monks' teachings often emphasize that the simplest practices are the most profound, and this micro-practice proves it. In less than 2 minutes, you've accessed the same peaceful alertness that takes years to cultivate through complex techniques. Keep this practice in your back pocket for any moment when you need to remember that stillness truly is the most powerful action you can take. Return with me to that temple bell we heard at the beginning. Its echo still rippling through the valley, still carrying the same profound truth. When you stop forcing, the path stops hiding. Everything we've explored today points to this simple revelation that has the power to transform your entire relationship with life itself. You've discovered that energy trumps panic, that open palms create open paths, that silence reveals what frantic thinking obscures, and that your natural timing and inherent worthiness can guide you more reliably than any external strategy ever could. But here's what I'm most curious about. How did that micro-practice actually feel in your body? Did you notice your shoulders dropping, your breath deepening, or maybe just a subtle sense that something shifted when you whispered, "Trust the timing," to yourself? I want to hear about your experience because these moments of recognition are what Buddhist teachings are really about. Not perfect meditation sessions, but those small awakenings that happen when ancient wisdom meets your real, everyday life. What surprised you most about approaching your challenges from stillness rather than struggle? And here's my challenge for you. Who in your life needs to hear this message today? Think about that person who's been pushing and striving and wearing themselves out trying to force outcomes. Maybe a friend, a family member, or a colleague who could benefit from discovering the power of calm action. Share this with them, because Buddhist wisdom grows stronger when it's passed along, and the peace you've touched today multiplies when you help others find their own stillness. If these teachings settled something in your mind and reminded you of a power you'd forgotten you had, then subscribe to our channel so we can keep practicing together on this journey. Hit that notification bell too, because we're diving deep into practical Buddhist techniques and ancient wisdom that actually works in modern life. Your spiritual growth matters, and I'm honored to be part of your path toward greater peace and authentic power.